So I'm Ed Dusenberry. I'm the first violinist of the Takács quartet. I joined the group in 1993. I was based in New York then and moved out to Boulder, Colorado, and I've been here ever since.
And I'm Harumi Rhodes. I'm the second violinist of the Takács Quartet. I joined in May 2018 and have been loving it ever since.
If you think about musical influences that inspired the quartet's sound currently to this day, obviously it's had years of evolution, but in terms of where your sound currently sits, could you trace some of those influences?
Yeah, it's a wide mix. I think we still go back to some of those older groups like the Amadeus Quartet, such a famous quartet in Europe that the guys worked with when they were setting out. They formed in 1975 in Budapest, Hungary, and they worked with the Amadeus, other groups, the Bartók Quartet in Hungary. So there's that sort of strong European influence. Individually, I had a very colorful Ukrainian violin teacher who had some of those same priorities to do with making a lot of character and vivacious moods in music and playing sort of with spontaneity.
Yeah, and I think I also grew up with a fabulous violin teacher named Shirley Givens, where I started with a method called Adventures in Violin Land. And I think there's something about being in a Takács quartet that feels like an adventure. We're always searching for new sounds and new characters and trying to be as colorful as possible. And I would also say that our group sound is also influenced, I think, by the current environment that we live in. We live in Boulder, Colorado, and we are in, this beautiful landscape. And we're very, very lucky to be at the University of Colorado where we have this wonderful residency. And I believe that our sound as a group is influenced by this beautiful nature that we live in and this wonderful creative environment that we're able to rehearse and really work in.
Yeah, awesome. So there's this great new album project. I know our listeners want to hear all about it. So I think let's break it down in terms of what it is, why you did it, recording process, etc.
Yeah, so we very much love the music of the African-American composer Florence Price, and we were aware of this wonderful piano quintet that she wrote, and we partnered several times with the pianist Marc-André Hamelin. We've made several recordings with him, and it seemed really exciting for us to find a way to record this piece that has a certain amount of tradition in it. Like you can tell that she's influenced by 19th century tradition, but is at the same time really singularly her own voice and has sort of wonderful roots in various types of African American music. And so we decided to do that. And then the coupling was the Dvorak Piano Quintet. And that may seem a little bit odd, but Dvorak came to America in 1892 to be director of the National Conservatory there. And he was given this kind of mission to try and help American composers to find their own unique voice. And he thought that the best way for them to do that would be to really explore their Native American, African American sources of folk music. And Florence Price was not one of his students, but in a later generation, she was still very inspired by the work that he did in the National Conservatory.
And tell us a little bit about the recording process to kind of get to the final product. Obviously, I'm assuming with rehearsing and coordination between Marc-André and the quartet, there was a lot of probably back and forth. So, can you speak to that process at all?
We were very, very fortunate to be able to play several concerts with Marc-André before recording, which is always wonderful to have the process of diving into the score, working on the music, and not only that, having a live performance element to it. And although we've played and worked on the Dvorak Piano Quintet several times in all of our individual histories, the Florence Price Piano Quintet we hadn't worked on. And so it was a really exciting new adventure for us as a quintet, and being able to bring it to the stage and then bring it into the recording session was a real privilege.
Let's take a quick break. If you're a classical musician, you know that talent alone is not enough to be seen and heard in today's marketplace. You need visibility. Over the past 15 years, I've worked as a brand strategist in classical music, working with artists and organizations, building that visibility for them. I've helped artists win Grammy Awards and nominations, such as Jessie Montgomery and the Miró Quartet, and I've helped Yoon-Chan Lim achieve global stardom through my work at the Cliburn. If you're a classical musician looking for that visibility to propel you forward to attain better engagements, reach out because I'd love to explore working with you. Simply tap the link below to explore more and schedule a time to speak with me. Now, back to the conversation. How do you see the repertoire and this particular album sitting within all of the other recordings that are out there today? I know a lot of people with Florence Price, Margaret Bonds, et cetera, have gone in this direction kind of since 2020-ish. Around that time that there's been an explosion of the discovery of that repertoire and recording the repertoire from major orchestras like Philadelphia Orchestra to quartets. Everyone's been really jumping on this. How do you find that this particular album sits within this kind of landscape at the moment?
I think that everything you said is true. And I think additionally for us, we're always looking for these kind of sparky conversations between pieces that we've lived with for a long period of time, like Dvorak Piano Quintet, but then finding a new exciting piece that really stretches us and makes us think about music in different ways, makes us think about the piano quintet genre differently. It's really a unique piece. And so coming back to the Dvorak, that also affects the way we play the Dvorak in some ways. And so it helps us. We're a quartet that's been around a long time, and it helps us to stretch artistically. That's how I would just talk about the project.
I love that. In terms of where you see future projects going now, kind of thinking of this as a springboard of sorts, and then what's coming next in the pipeline. Do you have plans to kind of keep going in this manner, or are you have something else in the works?
Yeah, I think there's always kind of a fun mixture of projects going on, and part of that has to do with commissioning and playing new music or music that's less heard, and then the other part of it is playing some of the music that we love and that we've been playing for a long time and that we continue to explore. So we have a couple of projects in the works. One is commissioned by Clarice Assad that we're working on. She's a wonderful Brazilian American composer that we've worked with in the past, and she's also a friend of mine. And she's just fabulous, and we can't wait to get her new string quartet. And then we're also working on a Mozart viola quintet project with the wonderful violist Jordan Beck, who will be playing second viola with us. And Mozart quintets are a special part of the repertoire, and being able to expand our quartet into a quintet is kind of a fun venture. So we've got a couple of projects coming up. And some of them are new and some of them are old, but we're equally excited about all of them.
If we kind of zoom out even further and think about a string quartet at large, so beyond just the recording project at hand and future projects, but just the place of a string quartet in 2025, kind of in this era, how do you see that positioning of a string quartet these days? It's probably changed over the years, especially if you guys have been in the business for a while, which I believe you have. So, where do you see this kind of going, or where does it sit currently?
I love that question. The group started as 4 Hungarian guys, and now we're a very international group, different ethnicities, different genders. And I think that quartets can be a wonderful symbol of reaching out across different boundaries and having common ground when we come from very different backgrounds. And music really helps you do that. And in a quartet, you kind of have to, because the 4 of you are so close, and you have to work out how you're going to play something together. So you can't avoid disagreements. You really have to make things work. So I love that as the quartet as a kind of a symbol for cooperation. And then, in terms of our audiences, it's a mixture of things. We're very grateful to play for people who've been listening to us for many, many years. And at the same time, we're also eager to encourage young people to come to our concerts. We have a series here in Boulder, Colorado, and Harumi's been very active in bringing a different type of audience to the concerts.
Yeah, just opening up the concert hall to new audience members. And in our hometown in Boulder, Colorado, at the University of Colorado, we've opened up our series here to several young students, music students, studying in the local music community here, and making sure that there's always space for them, alongside some of our very loyal patrons who've been attending for many, many years.
It is really exciting to talk with a young person who's heard a piece for the first time, or maybe listen to a string quartet play for the first time, and get their perceptions and their reactions, they're not, of course, the same as someone who's been listening to quartets for 20 years. But for us, that's equally educational and very inspiring.
Last question for today, and that is, when you think about the quartet's meaning of success, what success looks like for the quartet, what do you think that is?
Oh,
It's a good question.
that's a really hard question. I think, it's hard for me to answer for the whole quartet off the top of my head. I don't always think about success. Like, I'm not sure that's something that even comes to mind. I think maybe part of being successful as a quartet is just keeping your eye on the hard work at hand. I know that's a unglamorous answer, but I think perhaps that's how I feel, that the everyday work actually is what keeps my soul, burning. And, I want to do the daily work. I want to explore and discover new things, and all the things that come with that can be sort of gritty, hard work. And so there's always this feeling of, constantly learning and trying to have fun while you do it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think maybe keeping yourself in the present while always trying to, stay flexible and adaptable and nimble.